Hello, welcome to Ascension Whispers. My name is Marie Love, and this is level 2 of the Eternal Conscious Creation series. Within this presentation, we're going to see how the eternal life grid fits into the image that Earth science provides us with to represent our time matrix galaxy. We're going to see a whole lot more than that. I was not aware the last time that I spoke with you on the last video recording how much was desired to be shared when we step into the time matrix galaxy. At that time, I thought it was just a matter of showing how the eternal life grid fits and where the polarized frequency bands are. That's what I get for thinking. Because the information continues to open up daily, and not just with that, pieces here, pieces there. And I have stacks that say time matrix, solar system, personal body. And I'm trying to keep all of these notebooks and loose papers in their stacks. But as I'm putting things together in linear fashion to try to get it in some form to share with you, I'm finding that some of those pieces in stacks need to go in more than one stack. And of course, then I have to create the image analogies for everything and try to put it together. And then there's the process of living and having the life experience that gets in the way of doing what I would like to do, which is hurry up and share all of this with you. The other day I was talking with guidance and kind of being fussy about the fact that in my view, it had been quite some time since the last video, and I'm saying I really hope that it's time to start recording this and start sharing this. And guidance says, well, you are assisting to co-create an abbreviated version of creation, and that takes time. Yeah, well, I wasn't really even aware until that conversation that I was assisting to co-create an abbreviated version of creation. So, yes, it does take time. There's just so much that I'd like to share with you, though, so I'm anxious to do it. Guidance would like to share a reminder that Source creates imbalance and Source heals imbalance. And at this time, there's no one on the planet that has any memory of what it means to be in balance. And so we hold the belief that change requires chaos and chaotic events and upheaval and destruction. And Source does not create that way. We perceive things as that because the reality field, our bodies and our thoughts are imbalanced. But Source doesn't create that. The distortion, the lack of the energy of Source, and what has occurred within the system, within ourselves, within our thoughts as a result of the virus, the infection of the virus, and the destruction that it has created within the system, allows us to think that destruction and chaos is natural. And it's not organic. It's only natural when things are when they're not balanced. But Source doesn't create as such. Source creates in balance. So that means that many of us might hold thoughts that speak to us that in order to become aware of change, in order to become aware of higher energy of Source coming into the system, in order to become aware of balance occurring, that we should see fireworks in the sky. We should experience some kind of chaotic event to allow us to become aware that those things are occurring. And Source doesn't do that. Source doesn't create like that. So becoming aware of the higher consciousness that we are healing into is a subtle body process, meaning we become aware of it from within. And there are many people that, actually most of the population, that are dealing with the challenge of not yet remembering how to become aware of that subtleness within yourself as healing occurs, as more energy of source turns on to become aware of. And I am becoming more aware myself every day that passes, that is part of the reason for the desire to share this information with whomever is interested in listening to it, in thinking about it, in considering the possibility of what it offers, is to try to assist as many people as possible to remember those things, to remember how to reconnect with source within their self, to remember how to feel that connection, to then become aware of the subtle body responses, which of course means becoming aware of truth, becoming aware of lost memory, because that's actually what we're all doing at this time and will be through the next 30 sequence of the time shifts that occur. Because when the virus attacked the planetary system, there was a whole lot more damage that occurred within the solar system before that point, which we'll see in great detail later on at some point whenever we get there, and I can share that with you. But when the virus attacked the planetary system in the Atlantean time cycle, and the instant 2/3 drop of energy occurred, the memory was wiped out for all life forms. And what we're doing now, and what we will be doing through the 30 cycle, time shift cycles, is reaccreting all of the energy, that 2/3 quantum of energy that was instantly lost, which means, as shared in the recent post on the Ascension Whispers website, we're actually traveling back to the future. But I understand now, today, I was not aware of what I'm getting ready to say here in the last video share with you, more of what the experience of that is going to be like. Because it is a process of opening memory that we lost, that the life forms on the planet lost when that 2/3 quantum of energy drop occurred. But it won't be experienced necessarily as remembering something that you forgot. We can have, many people will have, I have had, a feeling of, oh yeah, I remember that now. I remember pieces of that, or I remember a feeling of something about that. But for the majority of the experience, it will just all seem new. And it will express within the hologram as new discoveries, new understanding, new awareness. We're seeing rapidly within the hologram new discoveries occurring via science, archaeology, space science, quantum physics, new discoveries under the ocean. There's all kinds of things that are here to rediscover. And some of those things that will be rediscovered when we get to the point that we experience that traveling back to the future, they will not be, it's not just us remembering them, it's that they aren't there. They aren't in the hologram until we reach that point of traveling back into the future, that we then become aware of them, that they're rediscovered, and there's all of this excitement about these new things, new understandings, because it's a hologram, because we are projecting the hologram. And that is, after we see how the eternal life grid fits into the time matrix galaxy, the understanding that it is a hologram is the key focus for this part of the information. because it is very important to remember what it means that it's a hologram. Quantum physics has proven, I'm sure that anyone that's listening to this is more than aware of that buzz thought pattern circulating around the internet, that quantum physics has proven via their scientific tests that it's all a hologram. And the statement from the other scientists within the scientific community has been made. Well, within that, there's a really neat video on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, you can go look it up. It explains to you the experiment of quantum physics, that they discovered that it's a hologram and how that occurred. And the statement from that is that that means that matter does not exist unless someone is looking. Well, of course, if it's all a hologram, matter doesn't exist. It's a light image being shined forth from somewhere. So matter doesn't really exist. But for any scientist to simply say matter doesn't exist if no one is looking, what are you supposed to do with that thought? Your physical body is made of matter. Your reality field is made of matter. And so scientists are saying, unless someone is looking, matter does not exist. Well, excuse me, but my body is made of matter. So who is looking to create my body, and from where are they looking? There are many questions that people should be asking science per that statement, that if someone is not looking, matter does not exist. But at this moment, people do not really know what questions to ask, because what are you going to do with a statement like that? How are you going to take that and apply it to your reality? You still have to go to work and pay your bills, so what are you supposed to do? Tell your bill collectors that, I'm sorry, but science tells me that matter does not exist, so I do not have the money to pay you because I'm not exactly sure how to make that matter money, and so I have to first figure out how matter is created and how I can make that money before I can pay you your money. Such a thought just does not apply into the daily living process. So it is something that is pretty phenomenal for any person within science to make such a statement. And you should hear it on every news broadcast station that there is. But are you doing that? No. You're hearing it, seeing it spread around the internet from many different people that, of course, that is going to be grabbed onto within the metaphysical community rapidly, because people within the metaphysical community have been saying that for years, but science is just now catching up with that thought via their discovery in their lab. So it's important to remember, what does it mean that it is a hologram, and that unless someone is looking, matter does not exist. It's important to remember that if we desire to consciously recreate the hologram, to be balanced, to express and allow us the experiences that we would like to have, instead of it just continuing on as it has for thousands of years. Excuse me, matter doesn't exist. But yes, there's people all over the planet that are being killed and starved to death and dying and suffering. So matter may not exist, but that's very real. So unless you can tell me how to plug this into the reality system to make a difference, then I don't even want to listen to you. I don't have any comment on your thought that matter does not exist unless someone is looking. So there are many questions that should be asked. And that concept alone, the concept that it is all hologram, proven by science, matter does not really exist, should be rewriting all of the textbooks, should be rewriting all of the history books, should be rewriting science, should be rewriting space science. Think about that. It's all a hologram. Matter doesn't exist unless someone is looking. And space science continues their mission of discovery in search of other solar systems, other planets, other life forms. Actually, they changed their mission, I guess, in just searching for other life forms quite some time ago. And now they're searching for another planet Earth. I'm told there's the reason why that thought changed within their mission. Not that they're consciously aware of it, but the virus actually desires to find another planet Earth because it knows it's losing its home. And they're not going to find another planet Earth. They're not going to find another solar system that looks like Earth's solar system, because this is a false reality field, and it's a distorted false reality field. Of course, they don't know that, so bless them. They'll continue to look. What they are finding is more in line of the truth, what a reality field should be. And we'll understand that more when we finally step into the planetary level. But there are many questions that people should be asking Earth science. And so when then, of course, I'm reminded as I'm getting ready to say this, it's going to take time. It takes time to heal. Be patient. But we have all of this new knowledge, new information. Even the new discoveries is rewriting history as far as what science has said for a long time about the age of man. When did man show up within the hologram? All of these things should be rewriting the textbooks in schools and what our children are being taught. So one of my questions along that line is, when are we going to start teaching all of the children the truth instead of continuing to teach them lies? But guidance reminds me, it takes time. It's a process. It's a healing process. And it's a multi-level healing process, which means all of these imbalances within the hologram is part of that multi-level healing. So it's going to take time, education, awareness, and continued accretion of the higher energy of Source, which is actually what is allowing all of this to be experienced within the hologram. So it certainly is not boring. Yes, there's still major imbalance there, and it's healing, but it's going to take time. And there is still the virus working within people within the hologram. And some of those people are not eternal life forms, so they will not be able to heal into truth. And whomever those people are, I have no clue. But there will continue to be resistance to change, to healing, to balance. And it doesn't necessarily mean if someone is resisting those kind of things that they're a finite life form. It depends on the individual factors such as the age of the physical body, as well as the age of the organic matter of the body, which is not always the same because of life's choices, because of choices of the diet and chemicals and the environment where you live, and toxins and disease and illness and accidents that create issues for the physical body, and all of these things are interconnected that then play a role in the ability of the life form's conscious awareness and what they're able to become aware of. For instance, someone that's, I don't know, we'll say 80 years old, and they're pretty much at the end of their lifetime cycle within that physical body. They may live 20 more years. People are doing that now, but they're reaching the end of the life cycle within that physical body. And they've spent all of their life believing, collecting their beliefs, and holding on to their beliefs, whatever they are, And they're reaching the end of the life cycle because they're reaching the end of the depletion of energy, of the birth quantum of energy that they birth into the life cycle with. So becoming aware of different thoughts, thinking outside of your belief system, considering things that do not fit into your belief system, requires the energy of source. And if the system itself has reached a point of depletion and degeneration, that the higher energy of source is not able to circulate through that system and become aware to the thoughts of that individual, then trying to assist someone in that situation into even consider higher concepts, higher thought, and change. Change of any kind can be very hard, regardless of your age and the physical body. But for those types of people, it will be next to impossible. It's not impossible. They may already, if someone already has a belief system that holds the energy that allows them to have those kind of thoughts and concepts that step out of the box of the hologram, then it may be easier to share some newly discovered truth with them, and it may assist them in knowing. And it really doesn't matter one way or the other. I mean, whatever a person's belief system is, that's the way it should be. Everyone should be allowed to believe as they want to believe, as they choose to believe, because Source allows all choices. And so everyone has the free will choice to choose as they believe. For those that hold on to belief systems that are eternal life forms that may not be the truth, once they step out of their physical body, there will be a transitioning period. Again, Source heals imbalance. So it's not like you're going to be jerked out of your physical body and smacked in the face with the truth, and here it is, believe it or not. Now, do you see how this is? No, it doesn't work like that. A Source does everything in balance. So there will be a transitioning period, however long that face of Source requires to heal into the truth. But they will no longer be dealing with the virus and the physical body and the hologram and all of the distortion and imbalance that they were ensconced within before they stepped out of the physical body. So remembering the truth, healing into the truth will occur very quickly for them. And then they'll remember the truth, and they'll continue on with their journey of self-discovery and remembering the truth, and probably dance for a very long time when they get to that point. So it's not really a matter of worrying or wondering about the elders on the planet, the adult population on the planet. But the adult population on the planet are the ones that are going to continue to experience the most challenge with the rapid changes that are going to continue to unfold as healing continues to occur. If for no other reason than because they're kind of set within their beliefs, within their routine of life and how they expect life to be. And change can be hard. And of course, because of the decline of birth quantum of energy and what can translate to awareness through the physical body system. But the children, those that have not gone through puberty age, as when the higher infusion of Source came into the planet on December 12th, 2013, those who have not yet stepped into adult phase, and even the young adult, the teenagers and such, they'll do a whole lot better with all of these changes that are going to occur than, say, someone 30 years and older might be doing. Yeah. It depends on their level of conscious awareness up to that time. But the children, puberty and younger, they're going to do just fine. They're carrying the eternal faces of Source, are carrying higher energy of Source within them than their elders are. And that's going to continue as new faces of Source continue to birth on the planet. Each cycles, there will be cycles, is what I'm being told, of higher quantum of energy being able to birth into the planetary system via the continued children that will birth here, which means that there will come a point, probably when the current elder adult population has already exited the hologram, but there will become a point when the children will become the teachers to the elders, because the children will continue to bring with them, as they birth into the hologram, higher and higher quantums of Source energy, which means they will bring with them higher knowledge and understanding of creation. And that process, as it continues in cycles to unfold, is not only going to rewrite the history books, rewrite everything that is held in as belief and taught within the scholastic system on the planet, but it's going to change the scholastic system. What is taught? I can see the elders going back to school and the children standing at the front of the class teaching their elders about creation and the truth. So it's going to change. Everything's going to change. But it is a cycle. It's a cycle of healing. We are in a rapid time cycle of healing back to the future. And that occurs in balance. So if we can allow ourselves to take a deep breath and sigh, and even if we're not yet able to feel our connection with Source, you will at some point. You will heal to feel that, whether it occurs within your current physical body or not. You will heal to feel that if you're an eternal expression of Source. But if we can even allow ourselves to pretend that there is a conscious, intelligent, creative force that is leading us, guiding the planet back to the future, that's in charge of that process, then we can allow ourselves to pretty much just enjoy the ride, enjoy the excitement of the experience, enjoy the new discoveries that are going to pop up within the hologram, enjoy our own self-discovery of new aha moments of understanding. And actually, it's the same process within ourselves. I have just recently become aware of this as well. As this information continues to open up within myself to become aware of, until I realized that it was a process of traveling back to the future, it seemed to me like going into the future, like going into energy that you did not know, that you have no awareness of, that you're is opening up as new within yourself, and that's the way it's going to be experienced. But it's not really. It's a process of remembering what you already knew at one point before all of this drama unfolded, and now the memory's coming back on. So guidance just desired me to share with you the concept of what it means that Source creates and heals within balance. And every day in my life presents more pieces of something to be aware of. And as I shared on the post on Ascension Whispers in the last video share, the galaxy that we see, the life grid, and we're going to see where the polarized frequency bands are, I was not even aware of everything that's involved in this. But we need to do just a real quick flashby of the steps that we encountered in level 1 to remind us where we are. It's been quite some time now since we saw those steps. Where we are as we get ready to step into the time matrix. So in this image analogy here, flash by, we saw the original thought of Source, the center point of the original thought of Source. We saw how the Divine Trinity is created and how Source creates all of creation via the Divine Trinity, and how all eternal life forms do the exact same thing when they're not distorted. And how the Big Bang occurs via energy quantum building of the Divine Trinity of Source. And we're following one ray of the Big Bang to see the eternal creation process as is an opening within my awareness and guidance, and is assisting me to understand. And of course, you'll have to decide for yourself whether or not that is truth for you. We saw the eternal spiral here in step number 4, and how the Divine Trinity spirals around the center point of the original thought of Source, and where the systems birth on that. We're following one ray of energy, light energy of the Big Bang, and how the spheres within spheres of creation are created. We saw that in level 1. And then we saw the inner creation systems, how they come into birth following the spiral, following the Divine Trinity as it comes out from the center point of Source, and where those things birth. And this is just like a quick flash through to remind us what we've seen. If you want to revisit the details of this, it's there. You can go back in the information and do that. And we saw the consciousness highway unified field and how that's created as the Big Bang rays of light expand out from the center point. And then in this next image analogy drive through here, we saw layer 1 of outer creation, layer 2 of outer creation, where we find ourselves now in this moment. We saw the birth of the vertical pillars, the vertical non-polarized conscious seats of identity, 12, 9, 6, 3, and then the 12 point at the bottom, which is the end point, start point of the next layer when you're in layer 1. And we saw the eternal life grid of layer 1, the eternal life grid of layer 2, and then we saw the eternal life grid by itself off of the consciousness highways, out of the spheres of energy, and the reality planes, the 4 reality planes. And then we saw the comparison of the eternal life grid to the grid configuration that the life forms and the planet had been held within for 26,000 years, the 2/3 fall grid, when that occurred in the Atlantean time cycle. And actually, on Freedom Day, December 12, 2013, the grid stood back up. So the grid is no longer at that angle now, the 2/3 fall grid angle. It stood back up. And we'll talk some more about that and what that means. There's a whole lot to know about what that means, but that's why we're in this rapid process of healing back to the future, because the grid stood back up. The planet and the eternal life forms of the planet are now reconnected to that 12 point at the top there, to the Christ conscious identity. They're reconnected to the energy of Source. They weren't completely disconnected because it was 2/3 fall energy. And we'll talk some more about that as well as we eventually get there. I don't know how long it's going to take to get there. But there is a whole lot to understand, pieces that I can share, understand about what some of the experiences in life as far as in the physical body, and what did it mean all of this time that the internal grid was held in this 2/3 fall configuration, and what does it mean now that it's stood back up? A lot of people, myself included, are still dealing with issues in the head, and it's going to be a while yet. We're just now stepping into the time matrix, and as I said, there is a stack of papers here for the personal body level, but it's going to be a while before we get there. And even though I want to share so much information with you, I'm forcing myself actually to be a guidance help, to try to keep things in sequence so that you can have the opportunity to see the pieces as creating a story instead of just all over the place, like they open up within myself to awareness, to assist more understanding, to assist more healing within yourself. If that's something that you resonate with this, and you want to know that's the goal, is to assist in healing anyone that desires to heal. So there's a whole lot more to see about the embodied eternal life grid and how it fits into the personal anatomy, and what does it mean about things healing. And we'll eventually get there. And I am now aware that, we're going to see a little bit of that within this material of the time matrix, because that's one of the pieces that I became aware that it needs to go in all three stacks and not just one stack, and that is seeing the embodied eternal life grid and how that plugs into the body. And then when we see that, there's a whole lot of information that goes with the 2/3 fall grid, and what does that mean? Why things that occurred to rearrange points, stargates, chakras within the 2/3 fall grid, and what does that mean for what the people of the earth have believed, different things that they've believed for thousands and thousands of years. But there's just so much. I can only present it as I can present it, and hopefully try to keep it in some kind of linear sequence for you. But just to comment here real quick. I know, myself included, that there are still people that are dealing with headaches and issues in the head. Well, to share with you my head symptoms that come and go, and they're not always all the same, and they're at different degrees of discomfort, is the migraines, and sometimes blurred vision, sometimes extreme ringing in the ears, more than is usual. And I call it the hair hurting when the scalp is so tender that you really can't even stand to touch your hair because your hair hurts so bad. And feelings that move around within the head from point to point. It's like a point in the brain where there might be pain for a minute, and then it goes away, and then later on you might have another point in the brain, and you might think, what's going on here? Well, all of these issues I'm feeling, experiencing, being shown, is because the grid stood back up. And when the condition that the grid was held in for so long, it snapped. You could think of all of these lines in the grid as neurons, wires, whatever is best for you to try to conceptualize that. It snapped all of those, and the virus rewired it to create a mutated life form that would suit its needs. And so, as healing is continuing, the 11 and 10 point specifically of the eternal life grid is the left and right side of the brain. And we'll see and understand later when we get into more on the personal body anatomy, more information about that. But just trying to assist your understanding at the moment of what all of these things are going on within the head. It's literally the process of new neuro circuits being created, growing within the brain, that is reconnecting the eternal life grid within the body form. And it's part of the process of becoming aware of higher thoughts, higher energy, having aha moments, is the process when those new neural networks, that's what they're called, neural networks connect within the brain area. And it's occurring within the entire body system, but we're most likely going to continue to experience it to the stronger degree in the brain area, because the brain is the control center for the physical body anatomy and is the area that translates to our awareness the energy of source, or the distorted energy of the virus is translated through the brain. So there's a lot of healing going on within the head, within the brain area, within the chakras. And people are experiencing that to varying degrees. Now, of course, the environment also plays a role in things going on within the head, such as rapid drop in air pressure can facilitate migraines and things like that. But if you're experiencing the same kind of rapidness that I'm experiencing within myself, these issues within the brain can be like a daily occurrence. Varying degrees, different issues, different things. And then you might go to bed and wake up the next day and have a whole complete set of something different issues. But I've also become aware that for myself, up to aware, my brain is like a barometer now for myself, as to become aware when there's something else going to open up to awareness. Sometimes it's a huge piece of information. Sometimes it's just a piece that I've been waiting on to plug into something else. But when that is starting to occur within myself, especially if it's a large piece of information that I sit and write for 6 hours to get it all in, the top of my head, the crown of the crown chakra, it pulsates, kind of like when you run and your muscles pulse for a while after you stop running. It'll pulse for a while, as well as other issues that go on there. But there's all kinds of things going on within the head at this moment as healing continues to unfold. I don't know exactly when healing might reach a point that we don't experience those things, but like I said earlier, it's nothing in extremity, at least in my experience, the way that it was in December, before the December 12th event. So I can live with it. I can deal with it. We saw how the Fibonacci spiral is the consumption spiral connected to the virus. The virus created it, actually, within the system, and used it like a straw to suck the energy of source out of the system. So we're doing a quick flash through here. Okay, review eternal creation, level 1. All of creation exists at the center point of the original thought of source. Nothing within creation ever leaves the center point of the original thought of source. And the only way we can begin to get our brain around that thought is to remind ourselves. Some may need to remind themselves many times a day that all of creation is thought. What we are perceiving and experiencing as physical matter is a hologram made of light and sound. And thought takes up no space. So space is an illusion. And we'll see more here as we step into the time matrix. Some more understanding about that illusion of space and how that is created. But it's an illusion of light and sound. All of creation exists as conscious thought, and thought takes up no space. Space and time are an illusion created by the energy of source stepping down into smaller units of energy and expressing as light and sound within the original thought of source. We have never stepped out of the original thought of source. We, as source, have never left source. It is an illusion that we have. And we're not supposed to forget that it's an illusion that we are experiencing. The illusion of space, time, and light particles freezing creates the illusion of matter. And light particles freeze as they move further and further away from the heat source, the center point of the original thought of source. So it's light expanding, light shining forth, as in a star shining forth. And that's why all of outer creation is considered to be a star. You are a star. You're considered to be a star. Reality fields exist as a hologram of reflected light made of frozen light particles, which the individual expressions of source imbue or put into part of their conscious energy into the hologram to have the life experience. Source creates all of creation specifically so that Source can experience all possibilities of all thought. That is Source's intention for creating creation, so that Source can go play within the illusion of that structure and experience all possibilities of all thoughts. All of distortion is the result of the cosmic virus called Metatron. Source does not create imbalance. Free will creates imbalance. The subconscious mind, we visited that in level 1 in my experience that I shared with you about that weird thing of the experience of the hospital ward and all of those beds. The subconscious mind is a real thing, and that is where the level of energy that our conscious thoughts have been coming from ever since this 2/3 distortion occurred, has been coming from the subconscious mind level. And it exists at the 2.75 frequency band level of our time matrix galaxy, which means it's still within the polarized planes of plane 1 at the 2.75 frequency band level, which means that ever since this occurred, consciousness has been trapped within plane 1 and not been able to expand any higher because of all of the distortion, because of the distorted grid, because of the lack of source energy, because of the disconnection of all of the wires within the grid, because there hasn't been enough energy available within the system to allow the life form to release the consciousness that they imbued within the hologram. It's the hologram that quantum physics has now proven is a hologram. It's the hologram of the Earth solar system that our consciousness has been trapped within for 26,000 years. Actually, it's been trapped within the hologram a lot longer than 26,000 years, and we'll discover more later about what that means. But for 26,000 years, we have not been able to remember any of the truth when the virus attacked the planetary level. And that means that the subconscious mind at the 2.75 frequency band level of the time matrix is still composed of the light particles that compose plane 1 of the time matrix system. But it is at the 2.75 level is higher than, not much higher, but a little bit higher in energy than the matter base is of this reality field. And so it's kind of like disembodied conscious energy that is no longer within a matter-based body form, is no longer playing within the illusion of the planetary reality field, but can't expand any higher because of all of these factors. And that's where the concept of all of those beds in that hospital ward, that analogy that I experienced, why it was presented the way that it was to me, why I it opened to my awareness within myself. And within that analogy, when I shared that weird experience with you in level 1, I had mentioned that I was aware within that experience that in my peripheral vision over one of my shoulders, I could see a blue sky outside of the window on the wall behind my bed in that hospital room. And I could see that there was sun shining out there. I didn't see the sun specifically, but I could tell that the sun was shining and that it was the blue sky. I now know that I did not know then that that was to assist me to realize what it means that the subconscious mind is at the 2.75 frequency band level, because you will only experience that type of experience. That doesn't mean you're not going to see blue sky and sun shining, but it was to assist me to understand that it's still within plane 1, that the subconscious mind level is still held within plane 1, because the consciousness that our consciousness of the life forms, all of the eternal conscious energy of source that has become trapped within this false solar system, has not been able to accrete to a high enough level to sit back in, to merge back into the 3-point vertical seat of conscious identity, which is the ourself, our conscious mind, that should be in constant communication with our physical body, with our energy that we have imbued into the physical body form. And that hasn't been able to occur for 26,000 years because of the fall grid and taking the physical body form out of alignment with the conscious mind at the 3-point seat of the vertical pillar. The subconscious mind, I did not know this until recently as well. I only knew in level 1 when I presented that information to you that it came into play as a result of the distortion that occurred within the grid. But it came into play because of the consciousness that became trapped within the false reality field, not being able to expand higher in energy, any higher than that level at the 2.75 frequency band level. And all of the consciousness we could think of as pooling within that frequency band, not being able to go any higher. That's why it became the subconscious mind. It's because it's still composed of the light particles of plane 1 of this false reality field. The light particles are still infected with the virus in the subconscious mind level. But at the subconscious mind level, and this is where the concept of all of those beds in that hospital room comes in, it's like our part of our consciousness that steps out of the physical body cannot expand any higher in energy than the 2.75 frequency band level. So it's as if we, and this is an illusion, what I'm getting ready to say here, and so I'll explain the illusion afterwards. But it's as if we step out of this body, this physical body, and lay back down within the subconscious mind body, within that hospital bed, in that hospital room, at the 2.75 frequency band level. And at that point, which then there's like a bridge of energy that had occurred to the 3-point seat conscious identity, the non-polarized identity of ourself sitting in the vertical pillar, a bridge of energy to the 2.75 subconscious mind level. Then the conscious identity of the 3-point seat can incrementally imbue more of source energy into the subconscious mind body at the subconscious mind 2.75 level. And that is where someone had asked this question after the presentation of level 1. That is where we regain more quantum of energy to then step into another incarnation within the false reality field, to reincarnate. Where do you get the next round of birth quantum to reincarnate back into the hologram? That's where you get the next round of birth quantum, is from the 3-point seat identity while you're lying. Lying is, you're not really lying. There's not really beds there. I don't think that there might be. I mean, if we need the illusion of beds, then there's beds there. So maybe there is. But from that level, you regain more of source energy to allow you to step into another incarnation cycle. And the process of, from that level, all of these years, the process of reincarnating into the false hologram again for another life experience, if the consciousness, the conscious identity that of the subconscious mind does not remain within that space long enough to incrementally receive higher energy of source from the 3-point seat, which incrementally means the 3-point seat couldn't just instantly infuse that part of the conscious anatomy with a huge burst of source energy, because it's still, there's still a grid structure. Remember, the eternal life grid exists from the micro to the macro level of creation. It's an energetic structure. So the subconscious mind level still holds a grid structure within it. And because it's not out of the matter light particles of plane 1 of the distorted, false, infected reality field, it still has held the distorted grid within that level. So the 3-point seat conscious identity could only imbue as much source energy into that grid of the subconscious mind as incrementally, without causing damage and blowing up the grid, which would be blowing up part of yourself. So you wouldn't do that. But that's where you regain source energy for another reincarnated lifetime cycle. It shouldn't be that way. We should not reincarnate anywhere, but has become that way because of conscious energy being trapped within plane 1 of this false reality field system. Because reincarnating is a free will choice, and it is from that level. That level, I know, because of belief systems that have been held within the earth reality field for quite some time. What I'm getting ready to say is probably going to sound like it's not true. But that level is also the level that has come to be called the astral plane, the subconscious mind 2.75 frequency band level, the astral body. And that's not really an organic part of the anatomy of an eternal face of source, because reincarnating anywhere is not an organic process for an eternal face of source. Such things only occur when distortions occur that trap the energy of source, the conscious energy of source, within a false reality field, a false distorted reality field. And so if a consciousness doesn't lie in that bed long enough to acquire as much energy as they can from the 3-point seat, and they step back into another incarnation, we'll say too quickly, too soon, then they haven't had allowed themselves as much time to recuperate regenerate a little bit from the effects of the virus before stepping back into a lifetime. And those kind of people can seem like they birth into the hologram angry at the world as soon as they get here. They have a chip on their shoulder and they're mad at everyone and they're going to take it out on everyone and nobody has a clue why. But that's why. And there's... Sorry, I'm thinking here. I'm thinking and I'm listening in case I'm missing something about this sequence that guidance is offering. Yes, that's right. That is also the level where there has been something talked about as far as birth contract and the incoming soul choosing the mother and the father for that life experience that does occur. It's not organic to the eternal face of Source to require a biological mother and father to come together and co-create the matter-body form for them to step their consciousness into for the life experience. But because of all of this distortion and the misalignment and disconnection within the eternal life grid, it became necessary to allow consciousness to step into the hologram, into a matter-body form, because the distortion would not allow the consciousness to simply create their own matter-body form by conducting the elements via thought, via thinking, and then just stepping into the body as an adult. The process of baby body birthing is inorganic to the eternal life form. And we'll talk more about that when we get into the solar system and personal anatomy level. But it is from that, the subconscious mind as well, that the concept of birth contracts have come into play. And it's a matter of the consciousness that wants to incarnate requiring a biological mother and father to get them on the planet, and then locating the available mother and father who will play that role, and planning, discussing. There's other factors that come involved in it, like what they're carrying, what the parents are carrying, and whether or not what they're carrying is going to assist you with your desire for the life experience, and their environment, and whether or not that environment is going to assist your desire for the life experience. And there's other things that come into it. False guilt, false karma. We'll talk about all of those things later. And maybe thinking that there's something to work out that you need to make amends for. And because that process has become the natural process for so many thousands of years, it means that reincarnating over and over and over, you tend to continue to do that with those you have experienced with before, over and over and over and over. And this is where the concept of soul groups come from, soul families, and we'll talk more about that too when we move on. I'm trying to keep myself into some kind of linear sequence here, but there's just so much to share with you. Okay, when we move on to the next image analogy here, if we desire, and some people do desire, and this is important as well because of other things that have been thought to be true. If you desire to create the layers of creation, inner and outer creation, as expressing as spheres within spheres, this is the way that it would look. Now, this color coding that I put on here, I just like colors. I'm a color person, and I like those colors, and that's the way that I colored it. And I did it to show the difference in between the layers of the spheres. But it's spheres within spheres within spheres within spheres. All of creation is. Because nothing ever actually leaves the center point of the original thought of Source, which is that 0 point in the middle of this rainbow image here. That's white there. It says 0 point, center point, the original thought of source. See, nothing ever leaves the center point of the original thought of source. It's all light expanding out, rays of light expanding out from that point. And what is held within the center point, reflecting out through those rays of light, shining out through those rays of light, which means that the expression of healed earth is held within the center point of the original thought of source. And it's shining all the way out here on the ray of light where we find ourselves and experiencing it as physical solid matter. Because in the center point of the original thought of source, it only exists as thought. It does not exist there as physical solid matter because the energy of source there is too hot to allow it to do that. So we have to follow the reflected image of it all the way out to where the light cools, the light ray cools, reflecting that out there. And we ourselves cool so that we can become frozen light and experience it as solid matter. But there has been the illusion that when you're talking about spheres within spheres within spheres, that the larger spheres, such as, we'll say here, 12, number 12, inner parallel earth layer 2, that the larger sphere is always on the outside, is the higher energy level. That is an illusion as from where you're experiencing it as. And we're going to see that more when we step into the time matrix galaxy here. And this is the first step of seeing that illusion. The reality is that it's energy, source conscious energy, expanding out as spiraling, rings of energy created in a spiraling effect, expanding out away from the center point of source. So that gives you the illusion as if you were sitting on that 0 point in the center there, that all of these layers of energy around you, I mean the illusion from here, I guess, in our concept where we find ourselves in this earth reality field, that gives you the illusion that the higher levels of conscious energy are out around you, that the illusion of expanding outward away from yourself, as in growing bigger than you are and becoming as large as the sun and becoming as large as the solar system and becoming as large as the time matrix galaxy. It creates the illusion that in order to expand into higher quantum of energy, that you're expanding outward from yourself. That is an illusion when you can remember that we experiencing in this matter holographic reality field is all the way out from that center point, following the ray of source energy, all the way out. That means to expand into higher quantum of energy, you go in, all the way back into the center point, not out from your physical body. From your physical body, you go in. And so the illusion of in and out has shown up within other teachings that creates a confusion within our linear thinking brains. And I have had some people over the years that have contacted me and said, if I'm expanding into higher consciousness, why do I feel like I'm contracting within myself? That's why. Because to expand into higher conscious energy, you contract back into the center point. So this is what this image, and I kind of hate to go off of it just because of the rainbow colors. I like it. Kind of reminds me of a sucker candy or something. All right, the next image, knowledge. The eternal life grid. Here we go. Now we're going to step into it. Now, remember, as I'm coloring these things, I'm just coloring it to make a map, so it's not something set in stone. The eternal life grid, universal time matrix galaxy. Eternal individuated faces of Source enter a time matrix galaxy via the 12-point stargate of the time matrix and step their energy down in quantum by taking a seat in the universal stargates 12, 9, 6, and 3. The universal stargates exist at the center point of the galactic sun that exists at the center point of the time matrix galaxy. They all exist in the same spot at the center point of the galactic sun, as shown in the circle image below, down here where I've got, looks like a bullseye target, 12, 9, 6, and 3. And again, I've just colored those just to separate them out from each other, and so you can see that there's 12, 9, 6, and 3 there. The step down of energy quantum is light spreading out away from the center point, just like at the center point, oh, typo there, at the original thought of Source. The non-polarized 12, 9, 6, 3 universal stargates create the polarized planes, which exist as the spiraling energy we see surrounding the galactic sun. The polarized planes are a hologram and do not present as visible unless consciousness is creating them via thought projection of the hologram. All that will ever express is held as encrypted thought within the galactic sun seats of non-polarized energy. Nothing ever actually leaves the galactic sun, just like nothing ever actually leaves the center point of the original thought of Source. And I am told by guidance, I haven't looked this up actually, you might research this and find something on it. I am told by guidance that Earth science, space science, is theorizing that the spirals in the images that space science shows us that says our galaxy is a barred spiral galaxy. They're theorizing that those spirals is actually one spiral. And they haven't been able to prove it yet, but they will, because it is. It's actually one spiral. And the reason that it looks like it's several spirals is because it's different quantums of energy expressing as light, and it's spinning. It's spinning really fast. I looked that up one time, what Earth science says the speed of the spin of the galaxy is, and I didn't make note of it. It didn't seem important. So I don't remember what the speed of it is, but it's spinning really fast. And the illusion it creates is all of these dust, this dust and what all of that dust is, that there are planets that exist within that dust, is the polarized light particles, the polarized energy that steps down from the vertical pillar seats 12, 9, 6, and 3. That's why the energy of Source polarizes to separate part of, say, from the 12-point seat, to separate part of the energy of the 12-point seat, not as in taking away from it, but replicating it and then separating it, as in the Divine Trinity, replicating part of the energy of the 12-point seat and separating part of it out into the 11 step down, the 11-point step down, and the 10-point step down, but on the same plane, on the same horizontal plane, where it would have the same horizon event view in the distance, and intermingling with each other, the light particles, the energy, that they don't become what they become, the types of energy they become, until they step down into those points of energy and spinning in different directions from each other and intermingling together. And it is the intermingling of the planes of energy within their planes of energy. And in each step down plane, the energy becomes colder. The light particles becomes colder, which means that the dust particles and all of the different states of energy, all of the metals and elements, that's what they're called. All of the elements that come into play here are created by the interaction of the polarized energy that's stepped down from the vertical pillar seat. Now, what determines what states of energy that polarized energy of source will become? The original encryption of the original thought of source. If you remember from level 1 at the beginning of the presentation, talking about what does encryption mean. Source determines what source is going to create before source creates it. Source has the original intention of what source is going to create, and then source creates it. Just like you have the original intention of the house you're going to build before you build it, and you create a blueprint, and then you create the house. Source does the same thing, much quicker than that, but source does the same thing. And our thoughts do the same thing. You have the intention, you have the idea of what you want to create, and then you think about it. And by thinking about it, you create it. And where do you create it? You create it within yourself, where all of creation is created. And what is it that you create? You create a thought. All of creation is thought, conscious thought. And space doesn't really exist. We're going to see some more of that here in a little bit. So my little spiral thingy here is kind of trying to give us an illusion, an example of this image provided to us from Space Art, and it says Space Art CO UK is where I acquired that image from, of the galaxy image there. It's the Divine Trinity spiral continuing to step down from the center of the galactic sun and spiraling around, just as we've seen in all levels, level inner layer, inner creation, level 1 and level 2 of outer creation, for the structure of creation that source then sends itself into to play. It's the same process, stepping down via the Divine Trinity and the frequency band, stepping down the polarized frequency band to create the playground. This is the playground that I mentioned in level 1, the artist canvas, the sandbox, however you want to think of it. The polarized frequency band, all of this that we see swirling around the galactic sun, is the playground. That in level 2 of outer creation, only within level 2, does the energy of source step down cold enough, cool enough in energy to allow free will choice to occur. And within this playground, because it's a free will system, anything is possible. All you have to do is think it, and you've created it. Absolutely anything is possible. That's why source knows distortion is possible, because anything out here is possible. It's kind of like an experimental lab of co-creating, and source can't wait to get out there and experiment and experience those experiments, and oh, look at all of these things I can create. And so then it's free will choice that creates distortion through the excitement and joy of experimenting and co-creating out here with free will choice, all possibilities. And so it's free will choice that is created the experience that is now allowing us to have the experience to remember the truth of creation. Let's see. I think on this image here of from Space Art of the galaxy, I've spread the vertical pillar points out there, 12, 9, 6, and 3, in those blue circles, to assist our linear brain, because we think linear. We like things lined up in a row, neat and nice. But they don't, and, to represent the grid as well, the eternal grid, so that you can see where the eternal life grid plugs into to create the galactic sun at the center of the galaxy. But they don't actually all spread out like that. And actually, the eternal life grid doesn't spread out like that. It's the illusion of the energy of source becoming colder that allows the illusion of separation between points. And so I'm trying to appease our current view of creation and our linear thinking and space and time and the way that we perceive, and still at the same time remind us the truth behind that, that all of that is an illusion. Because it's necessary. It's necessary to remember the truth behind the illusion, especially when we step into the solar system and consider all of these thoughts of things that have occurred and the weirdness of the solar system. I've heard, I read a scientific article recently sometime from space science talking about the exoplanets and things that they're finding. And this scientist, whoever it was that had written that article, made the comment that what they have concluded so far is that Earth's solar system is just weird. That's an understatement big time. It's just weird. So I'm trying to appease our weirdness here by pulling things out in linear sequence so we can see how they fit. But the vertical pillar points actually sit on top of each other, as in this little circle down here at the bottom, 12, 9, 6, and 3. And the light shining out, stepping down in energy, as we saw in my rainbow circle thing back there, and away from the center point. And then this is spinning. The galactic sun is spinning. And as it spins and steps the energy of source down, it spins that energy out away from it, kind of. In an illusion. It does, in that it creates a playing field. It creates the artist's canvas for the hologram of the time matrix galaxy to then occur within. But unless consciousness is sitting within the galactic sun, within those seats, all of this dust out here doesn't exist, because it's a hologram. And the consciousness is creating the image of all of that dust existing by shining forth through the encrypted thoughts they hold within their self, the hologram, shining that onto the canvas, the playground. And we're going to talk some more about that here in a minute. It has to do with what science calls black energy and dark energy. So we're going to see some of that. But that's why I pulled those blue circles, 12, 9, 6, 3, 12, out there in the center of the galactic sun. And Earth science calls, or space science calls, our type of galaxy a barred spiral galaxy. And the bar that they see at the center of it is a result of the vertical pillar universal stargates sitting there and expanding that light out, that light energy of source out that creates that bar effect. And it's also within the center point of the galactic sun that the galactic black and white hole set exists. And if you remember from level 1, we'll see this again in another upcoming image analogy here. But if you remember from level 1, on the underneath side of where this image, if we're seeing ourselves on top of it, on the underneath side is level 1 of outer creation. And the galactic sun here, when you look at the eternal life grid, at the bottom 12 point of level 1 is the top 12 point of level 2. And then the bottom 12 point on level 2 is the 0 quantum point, the lowest quantum of energy that source will step down. So it's like we're at the end of creation. we're all the way out at the end of creation. Okay, next image here. I've tried, this is one of the reasons too why it's been taking me so long to put this together, is because I've tried to put text slides in here to assist me to stay more on focus, because as you could see in level 1, I tend to go way out there in talking. All eternal life expressions sit within the non-polarized seats of the galactic sun as a collective conscious, or a conscious collective, as I've written it there. All eternal life expressions are of the same incarnate seat, soul seat, oversoul seat, and Christed seat. We might think of that as all sitting within the same building of a movie theater. But there are an uncountable number of movies available to experience within different rooms of the theater. This is because the universal stargates hold within them all solar suns that can shine forth in the polarized plane, and all solar suns hold the encrypted thought for their planetary system. The personal identity enters the movie theater by taking a seat, and from that seat steps down their personal energy into any solar system they desire to have a life experience within. From the non-polarized seats of the solar sun, they then enter their consciousness into all planets of that solar system. From the core of the solar sun, nothing ever actually leaves the non-polarized seats of the solar sun. Nothing ever actually leaves the vertical seats, which sit within the original thought of Source. The view of the hologram and creation that an individual life form will see is dependent on the seat they are sitting within and viewing from. As each lower seat steps down, turns off more and more of what is held within the time matrix. This occurs because each step-down seat of energy is light, stepping further away from the center point and becoming colder. Colder light units express as denser within the polarized plane and allows for the illusion of solid matter. But the matter base of the Earth hologram is currently 2/3 denser than it should be, and is in the process of becoming less dense over the next 87-year period, as the light units of the matter base become increasingly hotter, and more light shines through them. It is the polarized planes of what we see spiraling around the galactic sun that became infected with the cosmic distorted virus, not the non-polarized seats of the consciousness that exist within the galactic sun. It is the light particles that are expressing as different states of matter that became infected and which continue to be held within the virus, or continue to be healed of the virus. No, thanks. At the moment, we're still dealing with the virus, and we're healing of the virus. But that's the same thing there. Universal Stargate Encryption. Each universal stargate holds the encryption for all that will manifest into the corresponding polarized frequency band. Universal Stargate 12 holds the encryption for all of the foundation structure, foundation being planets, stars, all of the foundation structure that life expressions of Source will birth into, as well as all eternal life forms that enter the time matrix. Universal Stargate 12 holds all encryption of the original intended thought of Source, which means any distortion that occurs in the lower frequency band, another typo there, can be reset to the original Source pattern via the coding held in Universal Stargate 12. Each vertical Universal Stargate holds the encryption for each solar sun or star, everything's considered a star, that will manifest in the corresponding plane, and each solar sun star holds the encryption for the planets that can manifest in each solar system. Should distortion occur within lower polarized planes, it can become necessary for the consciousness of a higher seat to send more energy to a lower seat to assist with healing the expression that became distorted. But such can only be done if the higher seat can self-generate energy to then send to the lower seat. So what that means is when the virus was first created within the time matrix galaxy and became the virus and started attacking the system, it was created, remember, in plane 4 of polarized frequency bands 11 and 10, from the consciousness, us, sitting within the 12-point seat. And when it became the virus and started attacking the system, it attacked at the 11.5 frequency band level of plane 4, polarized frequency bands 11 and 10. So that was healed millions of years ago. But until that could be healed, the 12-point seat of that level needed assistance. Assistance to begin healing the structural damage of that level. And it required assistance from layer 1 of creation to heal the distortion, to heal the distortion that was created at that level of the system. But because we're talking about a ray of light here, we're still following one ray of light of the Big Bang all the way out to the edge. We want to put space in there. All the way out to the edge of creation where we find ourselves within our time matrix galaxy. Everything, it's a ray of light. And that means that whatever occurs along that ray of light is going to reflect out in the rest of that ray of light. Because it's a thought, whether it's a distorted thought or not, it's a thought that light is shining through. And so it's going to reflect out. So, again, we need to look at that from the experience within the hologram and then the reality behind the illusion of the hologram. The experience within the hologram is that the distorted virus created havoc on the entire structure of the time matrix galaxy as it wormed its way through and made its way through the illusionary matter base of the polarized planes to eat, consume, and at the same time infect the matter base of the polarized plane. Now, what has quantum physics discovered? Matter does not exist unless someone is looking. So that's the illusion part of it, the illusion that it infected the matter base. The reality is it infected the consciousness, our consciousness, imbued within that matter base that is projecting that hologram forth, which then means the image being projected forth is distorted per the distortion that occurs from the thoughts, the conscious energy of the thoughts, and the eternal life grid of that conscious identity. So we have to keep looking on both sides of the hologram, the truth and the hologram. This little bright image thing here is trying to assist our brains to understand how things might look sitting within the center of the galactic sun. So from any of the 12963 universal stargate points, the white section here, vertical pillar universal stargate, holds within it the solar suns, all of the solar suns, and there are an uncountable number of solar suns that can shine forth within the hologram. And each of those the universal stargates holds all of that as thought, encrypted thought of source. And the solar suns is encrypted thought held within the universal stargate. And the solar suns holds the encrypted thought of all of their planets, all spheres within spheres within spheres. And when we, as a conscious collective, and we're going to see some imagenologists for that here in a minute, as a conscious collective, enter into the time matrix galaxy, we take a seat. We step our energy down into the vertical pillar, non-polarized universal stargates 12, 9, 6, and 3. We step our energy down 12, 9, 6, and 3. And as a conscious collective, we take a seat within, which would be this white sphere here of the universal stargate. And then it's kind of like entering a restaurant or going to a cinema where they have the billboards that show all the movies that they're playing, and looking at the menu and making your choices and reading, seeing like a preview of what that reality field might allow you to experience within, and choosing. It's free will. It's not like you're locked into, you have to go do this. No, you have to go do that. You have free will. You have a menu of choices that you could choose from. Which solar system, which planetary reality field do I want to go experience within? And you have an unlimited number of choices, meaning you can go experience all of them at the same time. If there's more to talk about. We'll talk about that some more when we come up here. Has to do with how much quantum of energy you have. How far can you spread yourself out to go experience those things. The perceptual view from the vertical pillar seats. Now, again, these are imageologies. It doesn't. You're not going to find these things hanging out in space if you get in your spaceship and go out there and look for them. This is imageologies, concepts that I see, that I understand, that I can share to offer with you. So they're like thoughts and ideas. There's a whole lot more to know about that as well. We'll talk about that. The ray of light steps down in energy as it expands away from the center point, meaning that the ray of the Big Bang that we've been following from the center point of the original thought source. The further away the light ray expands, the more diffused and colder it becomes, as it is moving away from the heat source and creating the illusion of space between light. Space between light means what is held within that space is not viewable to the observer, and this allows for the illusion of space. Stated another way, space between anything implies that what is held within that space is turned off to awareness. From the vertical seats, consciousness can only think. They cannot experience via the illusion that the holographic matter-body form allows for via the physical body five senses. So you, sitting within your seat as the conscious collective that you birth from source as, to come out and play within creation, sitting within these seats, 12, 9, 6, and 3, within the galactic sun. The analogy here of sitting within those seats is, you can hardly see the 3 down here at the bottom, but it's there underneath of that 6. You just got to look for it. Is that the light that you're looking at becomes more and more diffused. So from your 12-point seat here, see, this is why I do not see any silver, black, or dark blue within from that location to say that the energy of that is pale silver, because I see white. That's what I see. And when I move out from there, as you can see here, the light particles turn off to awareness as the energy steps down. And as you move further and further out here in this image analogy, you can see it looks like a spray of light. And when I'm sitting in this 12-point seat, when I'm viewing from this 12-point seat, and I see all of this white around me, that's the way that the energy of that seat feels to me. I mean, to me, it may not to anyone else, but to me, as spraying around me as white light particles of energy. And then in the 9-point seat, more light is shut off to awareness, but not that much more, but there is some shut off to awareness. And then the same in the 6-point seat, and the same in the 3-point seat, shutting more and more light off to awareness. And then I've just created it over here, linear at the bottom of this, to assist our brains in separating it. 12, 9, 6, and 3. You see this much light, this much light, this much light, and this much light. And turning off the light to awareness creates, as you can see here, the black dots in between this white sphere, creates the illusion that there's separation within that light. That's what creates the illusion of space. And the illusion of time is created by reaccreting. Say, if you start out here at the 3-point image analogy of this thing here, is reaccreting all of that energy and merging back into the 6-point, and reaccreting all of that energy and moving back into the 9-point, and reaccreting all of that energy and moving back into the 12-point. See, here's the truth of the illusion of size again. Out here in the 3-point seat, you perceive creation as very large, expanded very large. And that is because your perception gives you the perception that there's space between everything. As you move back into higher quantum of energy and you turn on more light, the space shrinks. There's not as much space between everything. And then creation doesn't perceive as large, except its higher quantum of energy. Okay, in this next image analogy, we're pretty much seeing everything that we've already seen, except for our linear brains and those who like to see things as such. I've created a map of what that looks like, the time matrix galaxy and the frequency bands, if you create it as spheres within spheres. But it's actually more correct to create it on the spiral. But there are spheres that are created, so you can create it like this, spheres within spheres. Here we have the 12963 at the center of the galactic sun, and then the polarized frequency planes, 11, 10, 8, 7, 5, 4, 2, 1, and the 0 dot there underneath of that 2, 1 is the lowest point, the bottom 12 point, the lowest point that the energy of source will step down to. And of course it's all surrounded by the light and sound fields of frequency bands 13, 14, and 15. All of creation is, from the micro to the macro, as we saw at the very beginning, where the light and sound fields actually are created around the center point of the original thought of source, and they reflect out throughout the ray all the way out through creation. So no matter where you are within creation, it will always seem as if the light and sound fields are around you, from the micro to the macro level of creation. I don't really think we need to read all of this. Let's see. Non-polarized seats actually sit on top of each other at the center of the galactic sun. Yeah, I saw that. We see a solid matter, the bodies that exist at frequency band 2. And I am just now aware that this presentation that I've recorded it is well over an hour. And I don't know, I kind of think that that's too long for a YouTube video. But I have realized too that it's possible on YouTube to mark it and go back and watch it at a later time. I know that there's some people though that are downloading them because of their internet speed and not being able to watch it on YouTube. So I'm sorry that this one has gotten so long. I'm not going to split it up for this one because it might mess up something and I don't want to have to redo it. But we'll just pick up from here, from this point where we stop with this on the next video. And that point we'll start looking at a conscious collective and understanding more about what a conscious collective is. So until the next video, I'll talk to you then. Bye for now.